You know, some secrets are probably best left buried. But today, well, we're digging one up. We're going to talk about one of horror's most infamous cults, the Esoteric Order of Dagon. This is the story of the rot that festered in the dark heart of the cursed seaport of Innsmouth. Okay, so to really get this cult, you first have to understand the town it completely devoured. I want you to picture a place so rotten, so steeped in decay, that the buildings themselves practically scream that something is terribly wrong. That was Innsmouth, Massachusetts, a shunned, isolated port town that was hiding an absolutely awful secret. All right, let's pull in for a closer look at this unsettling town and the strange, secretive people who called it home. So, what was so unnerving about the locals? It was something they all shared, something called the Innsmouth Look. And it wasn't just one odd feature here or there. No, it was a consistent pattern of deformities. We're talking bulging, unblinking eyes, flat noses, scabby skin, and it just got more and more obvious as they got older. This wasn't a disease, this was a shared, creeping transformation. So the big question is, how could an entire town become so altered? Well, the answer starts with one man and a truly blasphemous bargain he struck on the other side of the world. This is Captain Obed Marsh. Back in the early 1800s, his shipping business was failing, and he was getting desperate. On his travels, he came across a South Seas tribe that worshipped these ancient, ocean-dwelling gods. They'd offer up sacrifices, and in return they got all the fish they could want and these strange, beautiful gold treasures. A dark little light bulb went off in Marsh's head, and he decided to bring that religion home to Innsmouth. The town's fate was basically sealed over the next century. Around 1838, Marsh got his cult up and running. By 1846, some of the original townfolk who opposed him were, let's just say, violently crushed by his new, inhuman allies from the sea. And this secret held for decades, until a terrified visitor in 1927 saw way too much, and his story led directly to a secret government raid the very next year. But how did Marsh turn this insane bargain into the town's only way of life? Well, he created an institution, the Esoteric Order of Dagon. He was clever about it. He disguised it as a new kind of Masonic movement, so it quickly took over, becoming the only religion in town. The promises were simple and very tempting, limitless fish and gold, but the price for that prosperity was absolute devotion and a sacrifice of blood. And who were they devoted to? They worshipped the Deep Ones. But these weren't just mindless monsters. You have to understand that. They were an intelligent, immortal race of amphibious beings from a massive undersea city called Yahantle, located just off the coast. Now, to join the order, a member had to take 3 oaths. The first 2 were pretty standard for any secret cult, right? Secrecy and loyalty. But the third oath, that's where the true, horrifying purpose was revealed. Members had to swear to marry a Deep One and have children with it. The whole point was to merge the bloodlines of humanity and the Deep Ones. And that third oath led to a pretty grotesque biological reality. Yeah, immortality was part of the deal, but it came at a terrible, terrible price. You see, the hybrid children were born looking completely human, but as they hit middle age, the Innsmouth Look would start to emerge. Their bodies would slowly change, developing the traits of their non-human parent. They were promised immortality, but it came at the cost of their humanity, piece by piece. Eventually, the transformation would become so complete they couldn't pass for human anymore. At that point, they'd feel this irresistible pull to the sea, where they would just walk into the water and join their Deep One family in Yahantle, leaving their old lives behind for an eternity beneath the waves. For nearly a century, this unholy arrangement stayed a closely guarded secret. But in the winter of 1927-28, after that terrified visitor escaped and told the authorities everything, the outside world finally responded. 1928. This was the year the hammer finally fell. Federal agents conducted a massive, clandestine operation to cleanse Innsmouth, which they cleverly disguised to the public as just a large-scale liquor raid during Prohibition. Their actions were decisive and brutal. Hundreds of locals were arrested and sent to secret facilities, never to be seen again. They burned and dynamited properties all along the waterfront. And most telling of all, a U.S. submarine fired torpedoes deep into the ocean trench where the city of Yahantle was believed to be. The raid left Innsmouth a ruin, a ghost town, but it raises a really chilling question. You can burn buildings and arrest people, sure, but how do you destroy a bloodline? For anyone with that Innsmouth heritage, the raid wasn't the end. It was just the beginning. Because the call of the deep was still there, waiting.